what's up, YouTube? Excuse me. Hey, what's up, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video game review. For this review, I'm going to be reviewing Far Cry 5 for the PS4, also available on Xbox One and PC as well. When it comes to first-person shooters, there are only a few kinds I like out there. While the genre has been mostly dominated these days with games like online multiplayers, like say, like Call of Duty and all, there are some that still stand out that I still enjoy to this day, though. Some of the most classic ones are like Wolfenstein and Doom, which I have really good respect for. Others, like say the Borderlands series. A series I'm torn about because as much as I like that series, it's also made by Gearbox, the same idiots that did, the whole Alien Colonial Marine debacle. We all know about that. The Conduit from Aulx Studios was also a fun game as well. It kind of brought back a little bit of a Perfect Dark vibe to it. I really wish they would bring that series back as well. GoldenEye is another example, including the remade one that they did when they released it back in 2010 for the Wii, which I believe also was re-released in 2011 for 360 and PS3, called GoldenEye Reloaded. So to me, there are some first-person shooters that I do enjoy every now and then. Far Cry was one I never really got into, or at least didn't get into until recently, Far Cry 5. I played a bit of Far Cry 4, and it just didn't really click with me, though. Now, with Far Cry 5 coming out, I got a chance to play that game, and after 2 weeks of playing, I would have to say it's definitely an enjoyable first-person shooter, even if it does suffer from the sameness that a lot of Ubisoft games have had. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons? Let me get out my notes. And we'll start first off with the pros. And the first one is the gameplay. To me, I found the gameplay to be fun. The whole open world, first-person shooter is very fun as well. It's ranging from doing the Far Cry arcades to even basically doing, going after some of the outposts and all the other stuff. So from a gameplay perspective, it is very fun, and not to mention the game can be played either in single player or co-op, so that's definitely a nice thing as well. So from a gameplay perspective though, it is certainly fun. The next thing I do want to talk about is the story, and I will say the story is interesting. While anything in particular though, I do like the whole idea. Do you think it's kind of interesting with the whole story of this cult that has taken over this town and everything like that? And Joseph Seed, I will say, is a very interesting character, although some say the villain from Far Cry 3 was probably the best one to, I think, Pagan Min from Far Cry 4 though. But overall, I think the story itself is a very interesting story with the whole cult and all that stuff that's taken over the town. So story-wise, it's interesting. The next one I do want to talk about is controlling the vehicles. Now, there are some games where, including open world games, where vehicles when controlling them, they could be kind of a hit and a miss. Last year's Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands, good game to be exact. While using the helicopters and driving the car were okay, flying the plane, pardon my language for saying this, was a pain in the ass to do. Far Cry 5, on the other hand, I did not seem to have that issue in terms of flying the planes in Far Cry 5 or driving the vehicles. So for me, I found using the vehicles to be easy to use, not complex, not anything like that. So, good on that part. And last but not least, I do want to talk about the visuals. And there are times when the game actually does look good. I mean, Hope County in general looks nice, the whole wilderness and so on. So from a visual perspective, it is good. There are times when the game does look good as well. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we're going to be talking about the cons about Far Cry 5. So we'll take a break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of our video review, and now that I gave you the pros, why don't I give you the cons? And I forgot to mention this earlier, I'm also going to give you the controversial part of Far Cry 5, though. So why don't we get started with the cons. So as far as the cons go, there are only two things I can really think of, at least based on my time with the game, though. The first one I do want to talk about is the visual. Now, as I mentioned in the pros, I thought the visuals in the game were good, and Hope County does look nice. That said, while the visuals look good though, there are times when it looks kinda so-so, like it doesn't really look that impressive. Sometimes it's also the character models, they just don't exactly look as impressive as they should be though, okay? I mean, they're not terrible or anything like that, they're just so-so. So there are times the game will look good, and then there are times the game looks right? I mean, I think it looks better than The Division, that's for certain. I think the game looks way better than The Division, but again, the visuals can be so-so at times though. The other thing I do want to talk about, and this is probably going to be the most obvious thing, and I mentioned this earlier, is the sameness that the open world that Ubisoft is known for, though. There are some minor tweaks in here. One thing is basically there's no climbing a tower to unlock everything or anything like that. There is like, if you liberate an outpost, you could find like a map that might open up a certain area though. Very similar to last year's Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands, where there's no like tower or anything. Instead you have to like find intel or interrogate a lieutenant to open up certain things, to find, you know, certain like hidden goodies and all that stuff. So it does change some of the formula a little bit. That said, you cannot escape the fact that it is a Ubisoft open world game. It's going to be very similar, or it's going to be the same like every other open world game by Ubisoft. Doesn't make it a bad thing, just don't go in expecting anything that you haven't played in any other open world game from Ubisoft, to be exact. Overall, Far Cry 5 is still a fun game nevertheless. It's definitely one of the better FPS shooters that I've played out there. I won't go as far as saying it dethrones like games like Doom and Wolfenstein, which I consider to be classics though, but it is a fun game. Just keep in mind though that it does follow the sameness that is known for a lot of Ubisoft's open world type of game though. I think it certainly is better than some of the other open world games from Ubisoft. I think it's better than maybe some of the Assassin's Creed games. I'm talking about the past one though, but just keep in mind it's still going to be the sameness open world Ubisoft stuff. And as long as you're willing to accept that though, then I do think there is enjoyment to make out of Far Cry 5. It is a fun game, and I still have some enjoyment out of it, especially going after and liberating those outposts as well. So overall, Far Cry 5 is a good game. It's not anything spectacular, but I am enjoying it as well. Before I end this video, I do want to talk about one last thing about the game, and that is the controversial part, and that is the microtransaction. As some of you are aware, microtransactions has been under the radar ever since what happened with Star Wars Battlefront 2, although EA's now supposedly has changed it all, but I think the damage may have already been done and all that stuff. And that has put a lot of companies on notice for any time microtransactions are used. As far as Far Cry 5 go, there's some good news and some bad news regarding this. The bad news is, unfortunately, yes, microtransactions do exist in the game. It is very, very unfortunate. If there is one bright spot I could say about it though, based on the 2 weeks that I have played the game, I haven't run into a situation where I am being forced to use the microtransactions. Since there are many ways to earn in-game currency though, through, you know, finding hidden treasures, hunting for animals, which now when you hunt them you can sell their skin for basically cash and all that stuff, liberating certain places, you know, defeating certain enemies and so on. Even completing in Far Cry 5's arcade, by completing some of those you'll earn in-game currencies as well. So there are many ways you can earn in-game currencies, and it doesn't feel like it's being forced on to you and all. So there is a certain bright spot about that. That said, I'm a little uniffy about it. I don't like the idea of microtransactions in a $60 game, to be exact. But as long as it's not being done in a way like what Star Wars Battlefront 2 has done, it's something I'm somewhat willing to tolerate. Doesn't mean I'm going to embrace it with open arms or anything like that, though. But as long as they don't change the progressive system or create a situation where they are forcing you to use microtransactions in any way, it's something I'm somewhat willing to tolerate. But like I said earlier, it's not something I'm going to embrace with open arms, to be exact. I would prefer if they do not put microtransactions in $60 games. But if for somehow they are going to do that, at least do it in a way that doesn't tie it with progression. At least don't create a situation where you are forced to use it, to be exact, because then that's sort of pushing it too far right there. So for the controversial part, though, overall, yes, there is microtransactions, unfortunately, but based on my time with it, I haven't run into a situation where I'm being forced to use it at all. Okay, this concludes this video game review of Far Cry 5 for the PS4. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about Far Cry 5? Are you enjoying the game? Excuse me. Are you enjoying the game? Are you not enjoying the game, though? Do you think it's the best Far Cry game out there? Do you think that others are better? I hear like Far Cry 3 is probably the best one out there. Have you picked up the game yet? Have you not picked up the game yet? Are the microtransactions in it a turnoff, or do you don't feel like they're forcing you in any kind of position with it? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. I hope you hit that like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal Me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good evening then. Bye!